I kicked out my wife and her daughter because I had enough. After my stepdaughter trashed my BMW, my wife called it just a phase. I am a 32-year-old guy, married for a year to a woman named Andy, who I thought was just incredible. She's 34, and I'm not kidding, up until all this started happening, I genuinely thought I'd lucked out. We met, hit it off pretty well, and took things nice and slow, mostly because of her daughter, Carrie. Carrie's 16 now, but when I met her, she was about 14, and man, I could tell right away she wasn't thrilled about me being there. Which, okay, fair enough, her dad passed in a car accident 5 years ago, and Andy had been pretty much a single mom since then. So yeah, I knew going in this was going to be a tough sell with her kid. I told Andy from the start I didn't want to overstep or try to act like Carrie's dad or anything. I figured I didn't want to replace anyone here, I just wanted things to go as smoothly as possible. Andy and I decided not to even mention me to Carrie until we knew this relationship was solid, no point in stressing her out unless there was something serious going on between us. It took a while, but eventually, we hit that point, and then came the big day. I met Carrie. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, but I was going in with an open mind, hoping she'd at least be okay with me just hanging around, you know? Well, that meeting was awkward as hell. Carrie just stared at me like I'd shown up to steal the TV or something, barely said a word to me, and avoided eye contact, the whole 9 yards. And she wasn't even subtle about it. She'd make these faces every time I spoke, rolling her eyes, acting like she couldn't be bothered. Look, I get it. She probably felt like her mom was moving on too fast, or that I was some guy trying to take over, and I had zero plans to try and replace her dad. The last thing I wanted was to make her feel like I was forcing a relationship on her. I made sure she knew that too, told her she could just call me by my first name, didn't need to call me stepdad or anything weird like that. Andy told me to give it some time, and I figured, yeah, okay, maybe she'd come around if I didn't push it. So I tried. I'd do little things like invite her to come out with us or ask her if she wanted to grab some food or something casual. Never forced anything. If she wasn't feeling it, I'd just back off. But man, every time I tried to engage, it felt like she'd throw a little dig my way, say something under her breath, or just flat out ignore me. I'd say something like, hey, Carrie, you want to go to this new burger place with us? And she'd just look right through me and say, no thanks, in that tone, you know, like I was wasting her time even asking. One time, I suggested that maybe we could go see a movie she wanted, and she actually laughed. She was like, oh, I don't think you'd get it, with this sneer. I mean, alright, it's a teenage thing, maybe, but it felt like she wasn't even trying. Andy would always tell me, she'll warm up, just give her time, but sometimes I'd think, how much time do I have to give? Things stayed awkward. I'd see glimpses where I thought maybe Carrie was thawing a bit, like she'd actually answer a question now and then without the usual eye roll or sigh. But every time I thought we were getting somewhere, it was back to square one. Like this one weekend when we all went to Andy's parents' place for a family thing. I thought, okay, neutral territory, maybe things will go smoother. Nope. Carrie avoided me the entire time and made this huge deal about sitting as far from me as possible at every meal. At one point, she actually got up and switched chairs because she thought I was sitting too close. I'd bring it up with Andy, try to talk about it, you know, just to see if maybe there was something I was missing or something I could do differently. And Andy was always like, just let her be, she's been through a lot, losing her dad and all. She'll come around. I understood where she was coming from, but it felt like I was supposed to just stand there and take it without saying anything. And maybe I should have, I don't know. I kept telling myself it would get better, but it didn't. After a while, I was starting to feel like a guest in my own relationship, like if Carrie didn't want me there, I didn't belong. I kept wondering if I'd ever even have a decent conversation with her without her snapping back or blowing me off. Andy would always try to play peacemaker, but honestly, I felt like she was stuck in the middle, and I didn't want her feeling like she had to choose between us. Now, I know how this sounds. Some might say, hey, it's just teenage stuff. But this wasn't normal, it felt personal. I'd come home, try to have a normal day, and bam, Carrie's doing something passive-aggressive or throwing shade at me. The tension was thick, like I was walking on eggshells in my own house, and every little attempt to make things better felt like it was backfiring. I mean, how do you even deal with that? I didn't want to fight with a 16-year-old. I just wanted things to be okay. Looking back, maybe I could have tried something different, but what? I wasn't going to beg her to like me. I wasn't the enemy here, just a guy trying to be a good partner to her mom. And even though I knew her dad's death was a huge loss, it wasn't an excuse for her to keep treating me like dirt. I tried to be the bigger person, to just let her comments and attitudes slide, thinking maybe she'd grow out of it. But honestly, I was starting to get fed up. How much was I supposed to take? Andy kept saying she'd get better, but I was stuck waiting, hoping this invisible better time would come. Every time Carrie ignored me, every time she threw one of her attitude bombs, it felt like another slap in the face, like I wasn't good enough to be part of their lives. Anyway, I'd convinced myself that once we all moved in together, things would change, that maybe she'd feel more at home and maybe start seeing me as more than just mom's annoying new husband. I'd never lived with a teenager before, so I thought it was just going to be an adjustment period. Thought I'd get to know her better, maybe even grow close, as wild as that seems now. But if I'd known what was coming, maybe I would have thought twice about getting that serious with Andy at all. Moving in was just the beginning of a whole new level of chaos, and as much as I wanted to believe Carrie would come around, the truth was I was diving headfirst into something I had no control over. And man, was I in for a rude awakening. So we finally decided to take the plunge and all move in together. I was honestly hopeful that maybe Carrie just needed more time around me, like maybe she'd just been feeling like a stranger in her mom's relationship this whole time, and that living together would help break down those walls. I was hoping for one of those moments where we'd all have some big family bonding experience, and Carrie would finally see I wasn't the enemy. But man, was I wrong. The second they moved into my place, it was like Carrie flipped a switch and took her attitude from distant and cold to full-blown hostility. I'm talking about trashing my stuff, giving me the silent treatment, and straight up treating me like I was some invader in my own house. She'd ignore me so hard that I'd actually have to double-check if I was even in the same room. It was like she saw me as some kind of threat that needed to be fought off at every turn. At first, it was small stuff, like leaving her dishes piled up in the sink, which I thought was a normal teenage thing. I'd just clean them up and move on, because picking battles and all that. But things escalated fast. I started noticing little acts of rebellion, tiny messes left around just to piss me off, towels thrown on the bathroom floor, garbage not taken out, random stuff like that. I'd mention it to Andy, hoping she'd see what was going on, but she'd just brush it off with, "Oh, it's just a phase, she'll grow out of it." Then one day, I come home from work and head into the kitchen, and there's glass all over the floor. I mean, shards of glass everywhere, like a whole set of plates and cups had been smashed. I thought maybe she had dropped something by accident, so I started cleaning it up, but then I noticed some of the pieces looked like they'd been intentionally broken. I'm talking about clean breaks, the kind you get from someone chucking stuff as hard as they can. I asked Andy about it, and she looked stressed but tried to play it off, saying, "Oh, she's just frustrated. I'll talk to her." And I'm like, frustrated? So what, she just goes full destruction mode now? But I bit my tongue and just let her deal with it, hoping maybe a talk from her mom would actually help. Well, it didn't. If anything, Carrie just doubled down. She started going for the petty stuff, and it was like